the Army decided that it wanted to rename military bases that had been named not after U.S. generals, but after Confederate generals who joined the Confederacy in rebellion against the Union. So, like Fort Benning was renamed after a pro-Union, pro-American general. Fort Gordon was renamed as Fort Eisenhower. Fort Hill was renamed as Fort Walker. And yet, I take it this is part of the big anti-woke arraignment and indictment of the military, that we have renamed military bases after pro-Union, pro-American soldiers, generals, people who've been loyal and faithful to the Union, as opposed to those who have opposed the Union and took up arms against the Union in traitorous insurrection. Now, what you're saying is that we should have Army bases named after Confederate generals or Nazi generals, people we've defeated in war. Is that right?
I'm not willing to let you put words in my mouth.
We're about 2 minutes over here, so we're just going to let Mr. Lohmeyer finish, and that's it.
So my point is, this is not an issue in which I've actively been involved. The renaming of bases. I wrote a book about Marxist DEI, Marxist critical race theory. That's my expertise. I have no personal issue with the fact that this gentleman to my left, who honorably served his country, has been a part of a commission to do that. I have personal opinions about why it's wrong-headed and a part of an ideological push, but this is not my issue.
You would not have renamed them, in other words?
Well, we're
point of order.
That's not something I ever focused on.
All right, I think I got my answer, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield back to you.
Go for Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the witnesses being here today. So, Mr. Lohmeyer, when we look at some of the things that have been said by the gentleman to your left, and don't think I can pronounce your name. I want to pronounce it right.
Sidgley.
Mr. Sidgley, yes, yeah. Thank you. And I've read your testimony. I'm interested to know your reaction to his positions with regard to the diversification of the military.
Sure.
And DEI.
Thank you. One point that the General made with which I disagree is that diversity is our strength. I don't think there's any evidence for that, but definitions matter. Words matter, and we're losing touch with this. I would reject the notion that diversity is our strength based on DEI definitions of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Merit-based, okay, I'm going to get away from that because if we're trying to find a unity of understanding, let me say this. Skill and performance matter in the military if you'd like to deter conflict and win our nation's wars, period. As a commander in the military, I had a black colonel fly across the country to promote me to lieutenant colonel because I love the hell out of the guy and respect his views on the Federalist Papers, which he was teaching me after work hours, and because he was the best leader I've ever worked with. The best airman that I had working for me, incidentally, was a transgender airman. So don't bullshit me and say that you think you know what you're talking about. You've never served. You don't understand how this works. We care about performance in the military, period. You don't know what you're talking about. Most of the people in this room don't know what they're talking about. We need lethality in the military, period. All of the stuff you guys talk about, the men and women in uniform don't think about. They go play Call of Duty at night after they learn their mission and execute that mission, period. They don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what you're voting on. They don't care about your sexual preference. They don't care what you look like, and they don't care what the person next to them looks like, period. I'm a citizen of this country, and I can dislike you and criticize you all I want here, but our men and women in uniform cannot. And so I speak on their behalf when I say lethality matters, merit-based selection and promotions matter, and your ideology doesn't matter one bit. And we need to identify principles which will preserve our union and preserve the unity of the United States military. If we do not, we'll lose that union. And it's my contest, whatever Truman did decades ago. No, you ask your average military service member when Truman was the President of the United States, they can't even tell you. But my point is, they're focused on what's happened since the George Floyd riots. There are things that have happened in the last 3 years in our military that we're up here to testify about, not the things that happened 60 years ago. We're great today because of what we've done for the last half century in the fighting of the Cold War.